After my divorce, I moved into my parents' basement just to get back on my feet. I cooked, cleaned, paid their utility bills without being asked. This morning, I came home to find my things in trash bags on the lawn. "We're renting your room to a traveling nurse. She pays," my dad said. My mom wouldn't even look at me. I drove off crying, then noticed a charge on my card from their bank account. So here's how my life completely fell apart in less than a year. And how the people I trusted the most showed me who they really were when I needed them most. After my divorce, I didn't have anywhere to go. I mean that literally. I didn't have a backup plan, a second home, a savings account, nothing. When you spend most of your 20s married to someone, building a life together, it never crosses your mind that they might just leave. But she did. My ex-wife, Jenna, had been acting strange for months. Distant, cold, but I chalked it up to stress. Her job had her flying out to Arizona and Nevada a lot. She was working on some healthcare expansion project. Long hours, different time zones, back-to-back meetings. I figured it would blow over. One day I came home early from work with a bag of takeout from our favorite Thai spot. Her car was in the driveway. I was happy maybe we could actually eat together like we used to. She was in our bedroom sitting cross-legged on the bed with her laptop in front of her and her phone in her hand. She didn't hear me walk in at first. She was smiling at her phone. When I said hi, she jumped like I caught her stealing. I didn't say anything about it then, but something felt off. Over the next few days, I started paying more attention. Not snooping, just watching, noticing. She was glued to her phone, texting constantly, even when we were watching TV. She smiled more at that screen than she had at me in months. One night, I waited until she fell asleep and checked her phone. I know people say not to do that, but I had to know. His name was Travis. He lived in Phoenix. They had met months ago. She told him she was tired of being the breadwinner, that I was lazy and too comfortable, that I was safe but boring. I sat there staring at the screen, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. We fought. She didn't deny it. She said she wasn't sorry, that she hadn't been happy in years. She blamed me for being too passive, for not growing fast enough, for making her feel stuck. She said Travis was ambitious and driven. I didn't even yell. I just packed a bag and left. I moved in with a friend for a few weeks, but that wasn't going to work long term. He had a wife and a newborn, so I called my parents. I hadn't lived with them since I was 19, but I didn't know what else to do. My dad sounded annoyed. My mom said I could stay for a little while. I packed what I could into my truck and drove straight to Boise. They let me stay in the basement. It was unfinished, cold, and full of old boxes and junk. But I didn't complain. I was just grateful to have a roof over my head. At least I thought I was. The first week was rough. My mom gave me side eyes every time I was upstairs. My dad walked around like I was some stray he had to deal with. But I told myself it was just awkward because I hadn't been home in so long. I started looking for work immediately. I applied everywhere. I wasn't picky. After about a month, I landed a warehouse job. Early shifts, decent pay, benefits. When I told my parents, they barely reacted. That's when I offered to start paying rent. My dad waved me off and said, "Just get back on your feet." So I helped out in other ways. I paid the internet and electric bills. I never made a big deal about it. I just logged in, paid them online, and that was that. I started cooking dinner a few nights a week, real meals, not frozen junk. Chicken stir-fry, pasta, tacos, whatever I could whip up on a budget. I cleaned the bathrooms, vacuumed, took out the trash. I even fixed a few things around the house without being asked, repaired a leaking sink, patched a wall, replaced a broken outlet. I thought they saw me trying. I thought they appreciated it. Then came this morning. I just finished a long overnight shift. I was running on fumes, just wanting to take a shower and crash for a few hours. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw the black trash bags on the lawn. At first, I thought maybe they were just clearing out old junk from the garage. Then I saw my duffel bag, my boots, my phone charger sticking out of a pile of clothes. I sat there in the truck, confused, not sure if I was hallucinating from exhaustion. I got out slowly, walked up to the porch. My dad opened the door before I could knock. "No hello, no smile. We're renting your room," he said flatly. I stood there stunned. "What?" He said it again. "We're renting the basement to someone. A traveling nurse. She's paying $900 a month." I didn't know what to say. "You didn't even tell me?" He looked annoyed. "We thought you'd be gone by now." My mom was in the kitchen. She saw me. She looked at me, then turned away. She didn't say a word. I drove off with my stuff crammed into my back seat, barely able to see through my tears. I parked at a gas station and just sat there, completely numb. Then I went to grab a coffee, and that's when I got the notification from my bank. 2 new charges. Best Buy. Amazon. Over $300. I hadn't used my card since the day before. I opened the banking app and looked at the transactions. Both had my parents' home address as the billing address. I checked my wallet. My card was still there. I went ice cold. My dad had helped me set up my online banking months ago, back when I couldn't figure out why the app kept logging me out. I told him the password. I never changed it. He'd used it. They'd used me. I didn't go back. Instead, I filed a report online and got my account frozen. I went to the public library and printed out every bill I'd paid with their address on it. Gas, internet, electricity. All under my name, all paid on time. I kept all the records. Then I called Deanna, my cousin. She lived in Meridian, had a spare room, and always hated how my parents treated people. She told me to come stay with her. So I did. The same day. What came next wasn't fast. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it was real, and it left a mark they won't forget. I filed a civil suit. I gathered every piece of proof I had. The fraudulent charges. The bills. The texts. I showed how I paid for months without asking anything in return. I showed how they kicked me out with zero notice. I brought Deanna with me as a witness to my mental state after being thrown out. They didn't even show up to court. I won by default. They were ordered to pay me $3,200. They ignored it, but I didn't. After the court judgment, I thought maybe they'd come to their senses. They didn't. They ignored the order like it was junk mail. No calls, no apologies. Just silence. It was like I never existed. But the law didn't forget. After 30 days of no payment, I filed for wage garnishment. My dad had a part-time job at a local tire shop. I knew this because I used to drop him off there when his truck was in the shop. It was just enough income for the court to go after. I'll never forget the day I got the envelope in the mail from the county. Inside was a check for $118.26, my first garnishment payment. That was the exact moment I knew they had no idea what was coming. But that wasn't the twist. The real twist came a few weeks later. I was out running errands, picking up groceries for Deanna, when I saw someone familiar walking out of a strip mall tanning salon. It was my mom. She was carrying a brand new handbag. One of those designer-looking ones, big logo on the side, shiny metal zipper. Her hair was done differently too, shorter, highlighted, professionally styled. She didn't see me, but I saw enough to make my blood boil. Here I was, still sleeping on an air mattress in a guest room, trying to claw my way back, while the woman who dumped my life into trash bags was walking around town with fresh nails and a new bag. Paid for with stolen money and the rent from the stranger who replaced me. I didn't confront her right then. I didn't want drama in a parking lot. But I went home and dug deeper. I searched her Facebook. She had a new public photo up. A girls' night selfie with 2 of her church friends. They were sitting at a restaurant. Table full of drinks and appetizers. Caption, "Treat yourself, nay polish, life is short, enjoy it while you can." And right there in the comments, she replied to someone asking how she was affording all these outings. "God is good," she wrote. "Extra blessings this season." I wanted to throw my phone through a wall. A few days later, Deanna told me something that made everything worse. She had seen my mom at her work. Deanna manages a pharmacy inside a grocery store. My mom didn't know she worked there. "She was trying to use your old prescription card," Deanna told me. I was floored. I had left that insurance card behind in a drawer when I moved. I didn't think twice about it. "She said she was picking up for you," Deanna added. "But she stuttered when I asked your birthday." Apparently, she had tried to get muscle relaxers and something for anxiety. Under my name. That was it. That was the line. I filed a new police report. I updated the old one to include attempted identity theft. This time I gave names. My parents got a call from a detective. I wasn't there, but Deanna told me my mom came back to the pharmacy the next day and looked like she'd been crying. The police didn't arrest them, but they warned them. Hard. That's when the messages started. First, it was a voicemail from my dad. Short and full of attitude. Real mature. Bringing cops into family business. Then came a text from my mom. We just want peace. This is going too far. You're hurting us more than you know. I didn't answer. They hadn't said sorry. They hadn't paid back a dime. Now they were acting like I was the villain. I thought it would stop after that. But it didn't. A week later, Deanna got an anonymous letter in her mailbox. Inside was a printed-out email chain between my ex-wife and my parents. My mom had sent Jenna pictures of me staying at their house. Screenshots of Facebook posts, texts I'd sent. She'd been talking to her behind my back. Jenna had told them things like, "He's not stable," and "He's dragging this divorce out on purpose." My mom replied, "We're trying to help him grow up. He needs tough love." They had been working together. I didn't even know they still talked. And suddenly it all made sense. Why I was pushed out. Why they never defended me. Why they acted like I was a burden from day one. They didn't see me as their son anymore. I was just someone to move out of the way. I was in their way. In Jenna's way. In the way of their fake peace. And now? Now I knew everything. They weren't going to come clean. So I decided to drag everything into the light. Once I saw those emails, I couldn't sleep for days. I just kept going over everything in my head. My own parents were helping my ex-wife, the woman who betrayed me, while I was living like a ghost in their basement. She was probably giving them her version of the story. How she tried with me, how I was a deadweight, how I didn't deserve her anymore. They believed her. Or maybe it was worse, they didn't care what was true. The letter sent to Deanna had no return address, no signature, no explanation. But there was one line at the bottom that wasn't part of the email chain. Typed in all caps, bold, "He brought this on himself." That's when I knew it was intentional. Someone wanted me to see it. Not just to hurt me, but to warn me. I started thinking. Who else knew about the emails? Who would try to intimidate me with them? So I dug again. I remembered Jenna's sister, Mallory. She worked at a bank in town. Real quiet type, but always sided with Jenna during the divorce. She once told me I was too sensitive when I asked Jenna to come home for dinner instead of working late every night. Mallory and my mom had started following each other on Facebook during the marriage. I checked. They were still friends. And my mom had liked a post Mallory made just 2 weeks before. Something about family sticking together when outsiders try to drag your name through the mud. I clicked Mallory's profile. Her recent likes included posts about protecting women from unstable exes and how to spot manipulation in broken relationships. They were framing me, painting me as the threat. I went through old text messages with Jenna, screenshots I had saved back when the divorce started. In one, from nearly a year ago, she had said, "If you keep fighting this, I'll tell your parents everything." At the time, I thought she meant the emotional stuff. My depression. The nights I stayed in bed and didn't talk much. I was ashamed of all that. I figured she meant she'd embarrass me. Now, I think she meant they were already on her side. Or worse, she knew things I didn't. It got even darker a few days later. I got a call from my old landlord before the marriage, before everything. He was an old-timer named Rick. Owned a duplex I lived in for 2 years while I was dating Jenna. He said, "Hey, weird question, you applying for new housing? Someone called asking for your rental history." I told him no. He said the caller gave my full name, birth date, and my old social security number from the rental file. They said they were your employer, Rick told me. But it didn't feel right. They were trying to fake an employment check. Someone was using my info. Maybe to take out a lease, maybe to open credit, maybe worse. I checked my credit that same day. There was a new hard inquiry on my report from a property management company in Phoenix, Arizona, where Jenna had moved. Now I knew the game they were playing. Jenna had taken my personal info, maybe from the old joint accounts, maybe from mail at my parents' place, and someone was trying to use it, either to lease something in my name or mess up my credit on purpose. I was being erased, discredited. Like I never existed or like I was dangerous and broken and disposable. I filed another police report. I called a lawyer. I handed over everything, the printed emails, the screenshots, the credit reports, the call logs, the Facebook likes, even the envelope from the anonymous letter. This time I wasn't going to wait for karma. I was going to burn their fake little empire to the ground. It took time. Weeks of meetings, emails, legal calls. But I wasn't going to let this go. I'd let people walk all over me for years, my ex, my parents, even so-called friends who disappeared when things got hard. This was different. This was war. The lawyer I hired wasn't cheap, but he knew his stuff. He specialized in identity theft and small claims recovery. He listened carefully, took notes, and when I showed him the printed email exchange between Jenna and my mom, his whole face changed. "You've got something here," he said. "Most people don't. This is clear collusion, and if we can prove she used your info to damage your credit, you've got grounds for real damages." He filed a cease and desist letter to Jenna and her sister Mallory. We subpoenaed the credit check in Phoenix, and it traced directly back to an apartment complex Jenna had visited. The leasing agent confirmed a woman named Mallory had applied on behalf of her brother-in-law. She even provided a copy of the ID used. A fake one with my name, but an old photo Jenna had of me. Fraud. They'd faked my identity. All because Jenna didn't want a mess on her record if the lease didn't work out. And because my parents had handed her my past like it was trash in a shoebox. Then came the big moment. Jenna got served. Mallory, too. Civil suit, identity fraud, credit damage, and conspiracy to defraud. My lawyer sent copies of the suit to my parents as well, since they had participated in sharing personal data without consent. We even added emotional distress and breach of informal tenancy agreement to the claims. My parents tried to act innocent. They left me a voicemail. "This is insane. You need to stop this before you ruin the whole family." I didn't answer, because I didn't start this. They did. The court hearings were brutal. Jenna cried in front of the judge. Told them I was unstable. Said I was using the system to punish her for moving on. But I had receipts, screenshots, emails. The judge wasn't fooled. Mallory said it was all a misunderstanding, that she was trying to help Jenna. But the leasing manager's testimony destroyed that. She confirmed Mallory claimed to be my sister, that she filled out a rental agreement using my full social and old employer info. They were cooked. But the biggest shock came when my lawyer dropped the bomb in court. See, we had dug deeper into Jenna's financials and discovered something insane. Remember how she said Travis, the guy she cheated with, was loaded? He wasn't. He had filed for bankruptcy 2 years prior. But someone else had been sending Jenna money every month after our divorce. 3 guesses who? My mom. Wire transfers. Regular as clockwork. We traced 6 payments over 9 months, totaling more than $4,000. Why? Because Jenna had promised them a long-term plan to move back to Boise, help my dad with his health issues, and eventually rebuild the family. I'm not kidding. That's what the email said. Rebuild the family. By cutting me out. My parents were paying my ex-wife to stay close. While I was living in their basement paying their bills, they were bankrolling the woman who destroyed my life. When that came out in court, the judge sat in silence for a few seconds before saying, "I've seen a lot of family drama in my time, but this is one of the most disturbing." The ruling was swift. Jenna was found liable for identity fraud and ordered to pay $11,400 in damages. Mallory was fined $2,000 for her role in the false application. My parents were held liable for aiding in the unlawful use of personal information and emotional damages. Total award, $18,000 plus court costs. They appealed. They lost again. But here's the real revenge. A month after the final hearing, I found out my parents had to sell the house. Turns out they had refinanced it the year before without telling anyone. They used the money to fix up the basement for the traveling nurse, thinking they'd rent it out long-term. When the code violations hit and the Airbnb listing got flagged, the city fined them. Then came the lawsuit. Then the garnishment. Then the public record. Nobody in their church group would talk to them anymore. Word got around fast. They tried to get help from family, but everyone had already taken sides. They had to list the house below market just to get rid of it. They moved into a 1-bedroom apartment outside Nampa. My dad had to pick up extra shifts at the tire shop again. My mom started babysitting for money. They don't talk about me anymore. At least that's what Deanna says. As for Jenna, she didn't pay me right away, so I had her wages garnished too. Found out she got a new job at a telehealth startup. Her boss wasn't happy when he found out she had a fraud charge. She got demoted. Last I heard, she and Travis broke up. He never had money, just leased stuff to look rich. Boat was rented. Car was borrowed. Credit? Worse than mine. She tried to reach out once. Sent an email saying she wished things hadn't ended like this. I didn't reply. And me? I'm not perfect. I let people take advantage of me. I ignored red flags. I believed in people who didn't deserve it. But I also learned. I moved out of Deanna's place and got my own apartment in Twin Falls. It's not huge, but it's mine. I have a real bed. A coffee maker. Peace. I go to work, come home, and I don't have to second-guess every move I make. I don't owe anyone an apology for existing. I keep the court documents in a folder in my desk. Not because I want to relive it, but because I never want to forget it. What they took from me. And what I took back. Every damn bit.